Hello, everyone. Happy New Year to you. I thought I'd go live. I want to connect with my buddy, uh, Reza Adil, who's in Islamabad. And the reason I want to do that is because the recent tragic events over there.
Hello.
Hello. Hey,
Can you see me?
I can see you and I can hear you. How you doing? You're right.
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm good. Snowed under.
Are
No,
you
that was
snowed
a
under?
joke.
It's it's raining here. What's the weather like in
No,
Islamabad?
no, Islamabad is the temperature and weather has improved just today. It almost felt like a sort of a mild summer's day, but it's been quite freezing cold. It goes down to about 4 degrees at night here. So it's not unlike being in London, except with far more greenery and more hills. And surrounded by lots of Pakistanis, which is normal anyway. But they,
That's weird. That it's weird, isn't it? Considering that you're in Pakistan, who would have thought? Who would have thunk it?
no,
But
it's a bit of an eye opener. I'm visiting my brother, and I haven't. I mean, I visited Islamabad for like a day or two before, like almost 2 decades ago. But now I've spent like, some extended time here. People in Islamabad are so different from people in Karachi. It's like a totally different world. People are far more chilled out, far more relaxed, and
really, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Is it
It's
just the pace of life, or is it the weather, or what is it?
no, no,
Or is
no.
it just
There
the
is a
beautiful
pace.
surrounds?
No, there is a pace of life, but
Mhm.
one of the weird things is I do a lot of walking in the mornings in Islamabad because it's like just a very oxygenated environment, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to get back to full health. I got food poisoning in Karachi almost the day I landed,
Yeah, I know because
and
we were actually, I don't know if people have been following and stuff, but we were supposed to actually meet in Karachi. And
that's
on the
right.
day, and it was the day when I went to cover the Pack Wheels Auto Show. And that was the day we were actually supposed to get together and actually go to the show together. And then, of course, that's the day you decided to eat something a bit dodgy and get seriously quite ill.
No, no, I actually got, of all the places, I mean, I can actually put my finger on where I got ill. I got ill from eating McDonald's. And I had my brother got on my case. He said what happened is I didn't order any of the burgers. I
Right.
ordered a chicken Arabia that obviously not many people order, and it comes with a sauce, and that sauce probably did it to you.
Oh my
And
God.
the sauce that the sandwich is wrapped in. And as he was telling me this, I became very vomity at that time. And
Uh,
basically, that food poisoning, the effects of that food poisoning lasted throughout my sort of 10 days in Karachi,
oh
and
my
then
God.
into another 4 or 5 days in Islamabad. I only started feeling really normal like a couple of days ago.
You
Um,
know, I was very lucky because I went to McDonald's twice. I think I ate in Hardee's once, and I ate in quite a few other places as well. But I actually fared all right because I was quite worried about getting ill as well. But I actually did okay. I didn't actually have a problem. So I'm really surprised that that happened to you. Normally, I think the key is to stay away from salads and stuff like that. Anything that's been washed in water, right?
And I suspect that the Muk Arabia that I had salad. Well, it did have salad in it, and it's just one of those things. It can happen to you anywhere. It happened to me in McDonald's,
Yeah.
and it's not pleasant being literally under the weather in any. It doesn't matter where it is, but that it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me
So
at
you've
all.
had an eventful few days in Karachi, and then you came back to Islamabad, and you had, I was going to say eventful, but you had, would it be fair to say, in light of the tragic incidents that have occurred there, a near death experience?
Yeah, we were. So as a family, we decided to go in one car without looking at any reports, without without really knowing there
So
was
hang
any
on.
problem.
So for all of those watching, let's just put a little bit of context on this first. What's actually happened? Hello to all those who are joining. Hello to those who are watching. I'm just catching up with my buddy who's in Islamabad at the moment. Just recap as to what actually happened there recently.
So Murree is a hill station in the northern parts of Pakistan. It's about an hour's drive out of Islamabad, and It's a hill station that is very, very popular during the holiday times. Murree, so it must have been a hill station established as a sort of almost like a British colonial venture, maybe 100 to 150 years ago. It's very touristy. It's almost like the Leicester Square of the region. When the weather is nice and cool, in this part of the world, people head to the beach or they head to a hill station and they head there in droves and they come from miles and miles and miles away. Murree is like the proverbial bee's honeypot. Everyone goes there. It's got lots of shops, etc., etc., etc. And I went to Murree last maybe about 25 years ago, and we
Probably
as a
the,
family, sorry?
probably the same here, actually. Very,
Right.
very.
So we thought, okay, we're in Islamabad. Murree is one of those places we should go and see. And there were no real weather warnings or weather alerts. And we didn't think really twice about jumping in a car. Four of us, was it four of us? Yes, four of us. We, including my brother, we drove up to Murree. And when you're driving to Murree, you are consistently ascending ever increasingly windier roads, that their gradient is continually increasing, and what you're doing is you're climbing into the sort of an extension of the Margala Hills,
Yeah,
and what you see is effectively you see clouds hugging the top of the hills,
yeah, yeah.
and
I remember.
you know you're going to break through those clouds the higher
Yeah,
you get,
yeah.
and we
But
got
see this. My vague memory from when I went, which, like you say, probably was 25 years ago plus, was quite a, shall we say, an alarming road with not many barriers and a steep drop and often narrow in many places. Is it still like that?
well. Yes, and the surprising part was that between me going there last time, which, as I say, was about 94-ish, so about, well, actually almost 28 years ago, actually, if I do the maths right, is that they have the sort of the civic engineering has really improved. They put really nice visible barriers along the edges of the road. Most of the way, the roads are much smoother. They're less indented. I mean, overall, a much better experience, and it, as it turned out, a much more deceptive experience, because
Right.
you're even more and more confident. Than hang on, they've really done a little bit of work here. I mean, of course, there's some scary, hairy drops down the side of the. If you stop, you can see, oh my God, there's like a 400, 500 meter drop,
Yeah.
but it's much better protected. When I went there last, there was sort of like um, scattered debris of fencing and
Yeah.
or no fencing, so
Yeah.
and trucks hurtling at you in the opposite direction at
Yeah.
600 miles
Yeah.
an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually the clues were there when we were going up the hill. That, I think it was on Thursday, the clues were there. Not many people were going up the hill with us.
Okay.
The clues were there. And so I was watching the sat nav, and
Last week was it?
so this was Thursday last week, and apparently what followed happened around the evening of Thursday and the beginning of
Right.
Friday. So we had a very hairy escape. But as we were
So,
ascending,
so just paint a picture. You said there were four of you in a car. What was the car?
so this is an MG crossover. I think it's a ZS model.
Okay. MGZ.
I know very
Yeah.
little about these cars.
Yeah.
Other than I know more about it now because I asked my brother these questions. It's a front
Yeah.
wheel drive. I think, am I right in assuming it's 1.6 or 2 liter, something like that?
Probably. I don't know what the spec are over there, but yeah, it could well just. I mean, although it looks like an, MG, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a front wheel
So it's
drive.
one of those cars that looks quite smart in
Mm.
Islamabad. It's quite a smart car. It's a very, very capable everyday run around car. Lovely to pick up the kids in. Lovely
Yeah.
to get over the small bumps, etc., etc. But we
Yeah.
found the limit of that car on that day.
Yeah.
On Thursday, we found the actual limit of
So
that car.
uh, so just to answer Shreya's question, was there any snowfall? Stick with the story because yeah, there was a bit. So yeah, we're coming. So
So
But just go on with what happened when you went out on. So this was on Thursday, earlier in the day. You drove about 4 of you to Murree
So
up
we
the
were,
mountain
so
in an
I can
MPZ.
give you almost specific timings. We arrived within 1 kilometer. So no, so let me put it this way. We went past what was the center where you can take a sort of a cable car, sort of a hanging cable car, and there was virtually no cars on the road. I mean, again, the clues were there. There were no cars on the road, and we thought, hang on, should we park here and take a cable car? No one was interested in dangling
Yeah,
these cable cars. So we carried on up the road,
yeah,
and I suspect we were within about a kilometer and a half of main Murree sort of town centre, which is called Moore
So,
Road or Mile Road. I
so,
think Mile Road.
so at this point, what was the
No
weather like?
snow. There's no snow.
Right,
All there was. So this is what I must emphasize. It was something that just caught us very quickly. So
right.
within about a kilometre and a half away is this lift ride up. There's no snow.
Yeah,
There is, however, a little bit of cloud cover. We know we're going through the clouds because the
yeah,
temperature has dropped another
yeah,
sort of 5 degrees.
yeah,
And there's sort of that cloud condensation, and it looks like rain, but it's not rain. You're just driving
yeah,
through cloud.
yeah,
And we did a very sharp, then right turn, which took us past a very sort of a resort kind of thing, and sort of
yeah.
empty and deserted resort where there's still no snow,
Hmm.
but I notice there's sort of, the remnants of snowy ice
Right,
at
right,
the
right.
side. So I noticed one remnant, another remnant.
So a bit
Then
of
we
frost.
did a just no frost. There was no
Right, right.
frost. It was like it had snowed 3 days ago, and it was just
Oh,
clearing
so
up.
a bit slushy then.
Not slush, just like
All right.
icy snow.
Oh,
There was
okay.
no slush, right? And we did another corner turn, and this is what was remarkable. On that next corner turn, there was snow everywhere. It
But
went
this was
from no snow
as you went round the corner.
as we went around the corner, from no snow to one or two pieces. So literally in two corners, we went from no snow to absolute snowfall.
Oh my goodness.
But what was very useful once
It was actually snowing, or it was just snow that was settled?
snow that was set, it wasn't snowing. It was snow that was
Right.
settled, but it was about a
Okay.
foot deep. From no
Okay.
snow to about a foot deep.
Right. Got it.
And through the snow, there were these car tracks and we thought, hang on, these cars have gone up here because there are car tracks which
Yeah.
had which where so the base of the track was clear road. So
Yeah.
this is very weird. It's a very, very weird sort of semi-encouraging to keep carry on going forward. On the next turn, which I distinctly remember. Now, by the way, something hairy has already happened. We've now
Mhm.
noticed that there's no more concrete barriers on the edges of the road. Now that it is sheer falls.
So hang on. So was that just the way the road is, or have they disappeared under the snow or whatever?
No, they haven't disappeared on the slope. That is the way the road is.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I would have thought this is probably where those barriers are far more useful.
Yeah. I mean, now that you're what, 3/4 of the way up to Murree?
And the road is at least 60% of the width that it was up to here. And
All
now
right.
on the sat nav, it shows that we are within 500 meters of main Mile. It's called Mile Road.
Okay. So about half a kilometer.
So we've now traveled an hour and 20 minutes. The next 500 meters, a reasonable human being is going to say, right, well, let's finish this and let's get up there.
Yeah. I mean, half a kilometer in the car is like, yeah, we'll be there in a couple of minutes. It's fine. Yeah.
Right. As we now we did a very hairy right turn where there is a fall of about 400-500 meters at the end of this road, and now we're going up the gradient is obviously increasing, and my guesstimate is we're on a gradient of about 15%. That's my guesstimate,
Yeah. I mean,
and
which is what you'd expect of a mountain, but it's not like too severe. It's like any normal front wheel drive car should be able to do that.
right. But halfway up this gradient, the gradient increases, and then the road disappears to slush. and the snow doubles within about 50 meters, literally within 50 meters. And now we are in a precarious position because the car has now lost grip.
Yeah.
And is sliding backwards slightly.
Towards the cliff edge, which has no barriers.
In a direction which is neither forwards or backwards, but slightly sideways. It's sliding. Correct.
Oh my God. And you're just passing at this point.
We're passive. We're on a ride. We're on a roller coaster ride already. And so the brakes do kick in because as the car inches back, it catches a little bit of traction on fresh snow. And we are royally screwed at this point because we can see another severe turn up in front, which probably is the last or second last turn before main Murree.
Are you now moving forward again, or are you still?
We're stationary. We're stationary because some fresh snow on the side of the road has caught the grip of the tire.
Okay, right. So it's just stopped you there, right? So hello to anyone joining at the moment. I'm just talking to my buddy Reza over in Islamabad, and he was actually in Murree during the recent quite unfortunate events there, and he's just recapping his own experience of being on that road from Islamabad up to Murree. At this point, we've got about 500 meters short of Murree town itself, and he's just encountered double the amount of snow, and the car just lost traction and started sliding towards the cliff edge, caught only by a little snowy edge.
And so we have effectively 5 foot, maybe 6 foot on our left side clearance and about 6 or 7 foot on our right side. I mean, the road isn't that wide. The road can, in really great conditions, take 2 cars. But in these conditions, what you've got is fresh snow either side and a little track in the middle, but that track is not tacky. It's there's no tackiness to it. It's very slippery. It's just crushed ice, and seemingly, although it's not snowing, it's about, I would have thought, a foot and a half, 2 foot of snow. Now we're a little bit screwed because it is, whilst we're thinking that we should make it to the top, which is going to be the safe option, even going forward is quite treacherous because there's a sharp curve to the left with nothing in front. So even if we were able to gather momentum, which we can't, how would we stop that momentum? Going uphill in slippery conditions with a front-wheel drive car that would lose it perhaps at the top. So we're in this very, very precarious position. So the next thought is, well, we need to reverse down or turn the car around.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculously hard if you've got no traction and almost no width to turn the car around in.
Oh my God. And is there traffic at this point on the road?
There is no traffic. Once again, the clue is in the environment. There is no traffic going up or down this mountain. And that should have been a clue for us as to not carry forward.
Reyes is asking a question, which is probably more for Ali than for you. Was there any traction control system in the car that offered a terrain response system such as snow or mud mode or anything like that?
I don't. The answer is I don't know.
I suspect there probably wasn't. If it was just a front-wheel drive car, I think there probably isn't.
Well, this is just it. When people buy these crossover cars, I very much doubt that most people who buy crossover cars are buying them for these kind of conditions. But once again, one can get fooled into thinking that they're far more capable than they are. Anyone can. I perhaps thought that perhaps it might make it, but there was no way. I mean, and the incline was probably more than 15%. It was sort of like between the 15 and 20%. It was a serious incline.
Yeah.
Now, So
just to recap, you are stuck 500 meters short of Murree, 3/4 of the way up a mountain. It's snowy conditions. There's pretty much no traction on the road now. The road itself is empty. You're facing forwards, but you've pretty much made the decision at this point that it's not safe to continue, and you're now trying to figure out how you turn it around.
We've even come to the conclusion, whether it's safe or not, that we can't continue forward. That car is not going to, there's no traction. And the question is, do we reverse down or do we turn the car around? Now, both seem like ridiculous solutions. Reversing down is treacherous. Turning the car around is treacherous because there's hardly any width to turn the car around in, even if it does get traction.
Yeah.
Now, this is the point at which where normally guardian angels appear. if they're going to make an appearance,
prayers are made, sacrifices are made.
If they're going to appear, this is when they do appear.
Yeah.
So behind us, at sort of like 30, 40 meters away, I see a Toyota Hilux with chains on the wheels.
Right. Smart guy.
Stopped behind us, and it seemingly was a park ranger who got out. Really, I mean, really, a guy, not only a cool guy, but a guy who was utterly keeping his cool.
Guardian angel then. Exactly what you want to see in a situation like that. A park
exactly what you want to see. Yeah, and at this point, two guys were walking down the hill. They were sort of, it seemed like either laborers or just guys passing by. And he said to them quite casually, "Right, help me with the car now." And they obviously, he's a man of authority. What they did is, he said to us, "We're going to turn the car around."
Okay.
Right? We're going to turn the car around. And I'm now wondering how. So we got into turning the car around, and he suggested was
brute force or negotiating it round, or just using brute force to push it round.
Right. So I got out of the car, and we first had to push the car towards the left onto fresh snow so that it would gain a little bit of traction.
So you physically pushed it?
Well, we did. We jutted it, and that, along with a little bit of foot on the power from my brother, brought the car into a. And this, by the way, what I'm talking about took about 25, 30 minutes.
Wow.
So it's now perpendicular to the direction of travel.
So 25, 30 minutes, you were on this road. There were no other cars apart from this.
No other cars apart from this. There were no cars. There was no way any car was going up there.
So those of you joining just now, I'm just talking to my buddy Reza over in Islamabad, who was actually on the Murree Road recently when the tragic occurrences happened last week. And he's talking about how at this point he's 3/4 of the way up to Murree and he's stuck, and they're trying to get the car turned around because it's impossible to go any further. My question at this point is that, because you said that there were no other cars on the road at this time, from all the reports that we've read, people are complaining that they were still allowing tourists to go up that road even after they knew it was dangerous. But you're saying there were no other cars that you saw in a 25.
So I can give you a timestamp on this. This was 12:30 on Thursday afternoon. When we were turning the car around, because I like to take photos absolutely everywhere, but my senses totally left me at that point. I was fixated on turning this car around. I should have documented this photographically, but my mind was, and I'll tell you why, because the worst of it wasn't over.
Yeah.
So having negotiated this car very slowly to perpendicular position, now the front of the car is pointing at the side of the hill which is on the climb, and the reverse of the car is pointing basically towards mid-air, a 400 to 600 meter drop. And yours truly is behind the car.
Oh my God.
Trying to let my brother know how far he can reverse if he gets some traction. And I've actually got about 6 to 8 foot of snow to the edge behind me. Now, the problem is, if he gains traction and the car goes a bit too quickly, he's going to push me off the hill.
Yeah.
And if I don't stand there, there is no way for me to tell him how much distance he's got behind him.
Yeah.
And the other problem is, the car is still not getting much traction. So it goes from having no traction to a little bit of traction to a hell of a lot of traction if it gains it.
Catapult.
Sorry?
If it suddenly catches, it could catapult.
It will send me first, and then it will follow. And given the events that followed afterwards, and we've seen a lot of these, a lot of the footage in Murree of cars literally doing nothing and just sliding off the side of the mountain. I'm telling you right now, we do appreciate. I certainly do appreciate that. That's where we were, and it didn't happen to me. Which is why I'm talking right now. So little bits and pieces, it wasn't a 3-point turn, it was probably a 300-point turn from that perspective.
To make light of the matter, but that famous meme with Austin Powers trying to turn a electric car comes to mind.
With an imaginary wall, that is a cliff edge.
Yeah. Oh
which
my
is
God.
and I am the rear distance sensor, sort of like a human distance sensor. So that's what was happening, and we did turn the car around, but the game is not over. We now are facing downwards on a slope of sort of 18 degrees, 19 degrees, heading towards a severe...
And there's still no traction at this point.
At this point, there isn't traction, but gravity is doing everything now.
Oh my! But that's
so if you let go of, so as my brother let goes of the brake, there is no accelerator applied. Gravity is going to pull you. But at the end of this maybe 50-meter run down, there's a severe hairpin corner with, guess what? Another drop off at the end.
Oh gosh.
Now, will we make the braking? So we evidently did, but it was hairy and hairpinny up. It was hairy and hairpinny down. The Ranger, so when we were doing the turnaround, this Ranger, who had the proverbial balls of steel, found enough space in his Toyota Hilux with snow tires and chains on it to go around my brother's car.
Oh my God.
So, can you believe this? Can you believe this? It's so where we're having difficulty turning it around, he found space to go around it.
Oh my God.
And he very kindly followed us all the way down. He said, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to make sure you get down. And again, very surprising. 2 hairpins later, we're on road with no snow on it.
Right. So it was by that time we're back to normal. So what was this Ranger's name? Did you get his name?
No, Gabriel.
Angel Gabriel.
I hazard a guess, Gabriel.
He sounds like a Sylvester Stallone sort of character. Just sort of.
He was almost chillaxed to the point of blasé. He was like, yeah, we'll get you down. And to be really very honest, it was his confidence that was more than anything keeping my brother going, because I'm telling you, that was a severe spot, and I personally don't think I could have dealt with it the way he dealt with it. I'm not used to driving front-wheel drive cars up anywhere.
And that's a real shout out for the Murree Park Rangers.
Absolutely. Salute the guy.
Stalwart that not only knew what to do, but also knew how to, basically put off the right amount of confidence to encourage people to get down the hill safely, which is incredible, which is very, very important, isn't it? That's as important as knowing what to do, is knowing how to exude the right level of understanding and maturity, right?
Here's the downside. The downside is you've got people so capable like that.
Yeah.
We were wondering, why had they not closed that road?
Yeah.
Why had they not put up a barrier? People are clearly really very capable.
So recount what happened after that. So you managed to get to a point where you encountered traction again.
And no snow, Shazad. There's the weird thing. The snow, just catch it. It's like you go from no snow to instant snow in 1 or 2 hairpin turns, which I suspect may have caught a lot of people out.
Yeah.
And it clearly did. It clearly did. And I can only imagine there must have been more than one route up the hill, because I don't see there were reports there were 100,000 tourists who
Yeah,
got up there. Perhaps they got up there beforehand, or perhaps they were going up, but there must have been an alternative because one car couldn't make it up there.
yeah.
And we found that out. We found out the limits of the car.
Well,
We
and
found out the limits of.
this whole episode that you've just described, I mean, you talked about 25 minutes just to turn the car around. I mean, in total, how long were you there stuck on the side of this road?
Well, this is just it. We weren't
Mm.
stuck until that point, and we
Yeah,
weren't stuck after that point.
yeah,
It just took us totally by surprise.
yeah.
It
So how
was
long were you
literally
there?
25 minutes. We turned around and we came down the hill.
Wow. And during that
Uh,
time, you didn't see any other cars going up that hill.
no, other than this Ranger, no other cars. Zero cars passed us.
So these reports of all these cars having gone to Murree, then got stuck and completely snowed under, and then tragically people dying. Where and how did that happen?
What I'm thinking is there must be more. There must be one more route. There must be an additional route, and I think there is. But mainly, I suspect people had already arrived there,
Right,
and roads. The snowing has happened between them arriving there and us getting there, and then for
right,
further severe snow.
right.
But
So,
certainly, where I went, it
so
was
basically, you were at the tail end of this, and you encountered the edge of that snow as it was happening further up the hill. That's what you're
I
saying.
personally think we got really lucky, not just with the
Yeah,
Ranger being there. I think we basically had a warning shot.
yeah,
We had enough snow that we couldn't make it, but not enough that we were stranded.
right, yeah,
Um, we had this warning, sort of a warning shot from God, and we turned around, we came down, and you've obviously seen my Facebook posts. I posted a lot of pictures post the event of us looking really happy and relieved.
yeah. I
sort of
can
like,
imagine.
sort of like,
My
sort of
God.
like um, uh, doing shopping binges where we would never do shopping binges. My mother stopped to buy, I don't know, 15 shawls from it was sort of like this instant gushing of sort of happiness and goodwill. You might buy a shawl on the roadside, but not 15 of them.
Yeah,
And so I posted those photos, and once again, one of the things I do regret is not taking any photos of us being stuck.
yeah. Or
Um,
the
uh,
range.
but the story in itself hasn't and will not leave me for a long time. That
Wow.
was a seriously problematic. So on your automotive side, two things: get a Toyota Hilux with snow tires and snow chains.
Well,
It will climb
you know,
anything.
well, the Toyota
Seemingly, it will climb anything.
Well, the Toyota Hilux would have done it even without the snow change because it would have been four-wheel drive, and those things can just scamper around anywhere. So the snow chains probably gave him the ability to delicately dance around your car, but
Yeah.
even without them, he probably could still have driven up that road.
The second thing is, if you buy a crossover vehicle, know that it's just a crossover vehicle. It's
Yeah,
really good for school runs. It's really good
yeah,
for getting shopping. It's really good for city driving. It's really good to go out in the sticks. But when you get to the sticks, park at the side of the road and walk into the forest. That's what I
yeah,
would say.
exactly. Yeah, no, you say those things are designed for school runs and shopping trips and commuting. They're not designed to go adventuring when things
Yeah,
can get.
and I don't think they make any pretenses about that. But
No, no,
it's that false it's that false sense of security for a second that I felt. And the third thing is that my brother is now convinced he needs a Land Rover Defender. and has been watching your review relentlessly for the past 2 or 3 days. And that's not a plug. He genuinely has been trying to work out what color to get, etc.,
oh my,
etc., etc.
yeah, I bet. My goodness. So,
No, no. If anything teaches you that you actually need a proper 4x4, it's an event like that.
yeah.
It's
Well,
not it's not it's not about being stuck in a ditch. It's about being stuck on the side of a mountain with your
yeah.
lives in peril.
I mean, how often does it actually snow in Islamabad city itself?
I don't believe it does. I think maybe even if it does, it doesn't settle. I mean, I've gone for walks maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when
Yeah,
there's frost. It's very frosty in the morning.
yeah, yeah,
It rains quite a lot here, and the rains have kind of stopped as of yesterday morning. I
yeah,
think there's a lull for about a week at least, and it's quite sunny. It gets up to about 17 degrees in the middle of winter, but which is quite good for here apparently. But I haven't heard of it snowing in Islamabad.
Yeah.
I did ask around. They said no, it doesn't generally. But you can see the snow on the distant hills.
So how and then
On,
so in Murree then?
hello?
Hello. How often does it snow in Murree?
I would imagine it snows quite a lot because we're talking like tips of very, very high hills here.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get the, sort of that light snow, but we are midwinter
So
right now.
So that begs the question, is that why haven't they got preparations for this sort of thing then? If it does snow up there, and if they maybe they would have had similar conditions in the past, although I guess this was obviously an extreme situation, but surely like the barriers around the edge of the road, for example, are absolute, surely they're the absolute bare minimum, you know?
I think you've actually very conveniently hit the nail on the head there. One of the big what you're talking about has been. Let me put it this way: it's taken a very severe event. I heard that 5 foot of snow fell in one day, which is a record.
5 foot in
Um,
a day, wow.
what 5 foot of snow in one day? Which is why people were trapped in their cars and frozen in their cars, and people have died. Poor people. I mean, like I I'm very my heart shrinks in size when I watch this video coverage. I tend not to watch these things.
Yeah, yeah,
I get a broken heart very very easily.
yeah.
What I'm hearing is even the number of people that have said that have died, it far exceeds. People are still, as of today, being pulled out of cars. So
Oh,
there are figures sort of like I've heard figures of 16 people, then 20 people, then perhaps many, many more. I mean, so it's taken such a severe fall of snow, such loss of life for people to actually complain. Why aren't the Murree road driving conditions and the barriers and sort of like the civic infrastructure.
yeah.
Loads of very famous politicians have now got involved quite seriously and quite earnestly. But once again, it takes loss of life and a large loss of life for people to get the point. Um, uh,
Really kind of not only is it sad, but it's a little bit disastrous if you think of, you know, the path that the country is on and in terms of what it's trying to achieve economically and financially. If you're in a situation where you have these beautiful places such as Murree, Islamabad, and the surrounding mountains and hills, and you can therefore very easily attract tourism, but you cannot ensure the safety of those tourists, you're fundamentally failed in what you're trying to achieve.
I suspect one of the reasons Murree hasn't got that civic planning is it's I don't want to criticize any particular place, but if you go to a tired old sort of beach pier in England anywhere, I tend not to go. I just find these places tired, old, decrepit, forgotten. They may have glowed 100 years ago, but no more. It has that kind of cachet in this part of the world. Murree is very attractive, but it's attractive to to people who sort of like the normal everyday holiday maker who can't afford to drive, who can't afford to take a flight out of the country or go to Karachi. Their thing, their thrill is, well, why don't we go up into a hill station?
Yeah.
So one of the big problems you have generally in most places in the world is until people, I don't know if it's a class thing, but it seems that until there is a loss of life, people don't take things seriously. And the infrastructure in Islamabad is fundamentally amazing. It's really really great. The roads are clean. They're really smooth. They're really well signposted, better than places in the Western world, in many places. Um, but the infrastructure does let itself down when you head out. I mean, there is obviously some. I went to the Pakistan Monument, which
Mm.
is, again, I was surprised. It's really well maintained and clean. There's a fabulous museum in there. I think I sent photos of sort of 600 grocer that's parked in there and a Rolls Royce that's used by government officials. So everything's really well maintained. It's really nice. It's really surprising. But I think Murree is one of those critical letdown points. And whilst I'm here, it's sort of God has pointed his finger this way, thrown a lot of snow here. You know, a lot of people have passed away, and now something hopefully good will come out of that. That's probably
Do you think
um,
that something will happen? Do you think that they're going to make appropriate changes in terms of safety and an action point in case there's a like this emerge again in future?
I absolutely think they will. I think you can't ignore these things. People do generally have fickle memories, but one of the things I do enjoy about being in Pakistan this time is I find that when it comes to civic amenities and when it comes to which must lead down from government participation, private participation. Well, and by the way, this is something that I will mention. When money is not spent by the government, you will find plenty of really civic-minded people, private individuals, both rich and not rich, who will do something about it, whether it's painting murals throughout Karachi to beautify Karachi, or setting up beautiful handicraft shops in Islamabad, because these are not necessarily government projects, these are private projects. People want genuinely to beautify where they're living. They want people to come, and they're I'm very, very surprised about that. I'm actually a very critical human being, as you very well know. I jump on things before I compliment them. But I'm very surprised. People are very, very motivated here. And if this has happened in Murree, I personally don't think the situation will stay the same. I think things will improve. I genuinely think that. If they don't, that's a massive shame. But I seem to have this really nice gut feeling that something good will come out of this.
Well, I hope so. I mean, a lot of people have died, unfortunately, in this occurrence. So yeah, I hope that they will learn from this and apply this.
Yeah, and although this is not the forefront of it, Murree has become an extremely dirty and trash sort of almost a garbage dump compared to what it was.
It's really surprising and alarming because, I mean, again, going back into my distant memory of 25, 30 years ago and trying to remember, it was quite a pretty little village when we went up there. It was quite nicely presented and everything. And you're telling me it's even worse now. That's
yeah, it's a very, yeah, I mean, you really can't escape trash wherever you go in Pakistan. It's one of the things. It's a massive pet peeve. I think as a nation of people collectively, we need to get very self-disciplined about our personal responsibilities. I think people here tend to be very self-minded. Like I'll keep my little space clean, but forget everyone else.
Yeah, I see that a lot. Yeah,
and that's really just a disgusting attitude. It's just a disgusting attitude. There are plenty of good things about people here. That is not one of them. And that, in my opinion, that needs to wash itself out of the system. You take your nationality seriously, you take your country seriously, you take your culture seriously, or take your spaces seriously. And as I say, there are individuals, private individuals. Forget the government side. Government, whether you agree or not, whether it's doing a good job or not, put that to side. But there are private individuals who really go out of their way to beautify more than just their personal spaces. I think you must have driven around Karachi and seen murals, and I'm not talking about graffiti stuff. This is sort of like we've just realized that we really do need to tidy up.
Situation though is terrible. I mean, to be honest, the way you're describing Islamabad, I cannot describe Karachi. I mean, the infrastructure, yes. I mean, now it's got these very modern shopping malls. You've got tons of places to eat, which are very nice places to eat. But if you look at the road and the traffic and stuff like that, Karachi in particular, I feel that it's worse than when I went 14 years ago.
It definitely is. It's much dirtier. I was there for 10 days, even though I couldn't get to see you. It suffers from an increased population. You're going to get the same. You're going to get more people in the same space. Guess what? Affluence leads to effluence, and that is what it is. There's more money. There's more people. There's more trash, and local governments can make all the facilities available. But if, as a human being, as if people were not disciplined to throw our trash in a bin, then it doesn't matter what people do. I mean, I've seen bins in Karachi that have got more trash around them than they've got in them.
Yeah. Throw it at the bin rather than in the bin.
Yeah, people throw it at the bin rather than in the bin. So very nicely said. Very, very nicely said. So I'm not here to complain. I think that
So finally, then, bringing this back again to the near-death episode in Murree and the recent experience there, and in light of how it tragically ended, in the case of so many other people, what have you learned from this? How has it affected you personally?
I've had a few hairy moments in my life, so I've dealt with it with a slightly more measured attitude. Actually, I've I vowed never to go to Murree in snow. That's one
Probably
thing.
wise. Yeah.
I'm solidly on my brother's case to get a 4x4 for this part of the world. I think and as you know, I don't believe in 4x4s. I think I've had this conversation with you. I'm a very non 4x4 person, and actually, I'm kind of seeing the merits of this type of vehicle on the road,
No,
because
it's like in the Middle East, for example, in that part of the world, you do see real benefits of having a 4x4. You really do see the advantage of doing that. I do. I'm going back to your brother's choice of a new Defender. I am a little bit concerned that it might have proven to be if he had that, he would have made it up the hill, but it would be quite a wide vehicle to get up that hill.
Um, Everything is retrospective. One of the things, we saw so many people. We know that so many people passed away. Most people that go up to Murree go up in Suzuki Rascals and
Yeah,
tiny,
exactly. Exactly. That makes
and
quite
what?
rare.
And I'm thinking, what chance do they have?
Yeah.
So if we're talking in terms of vehicles, always just
But
like your clothes, you pick clothes appropriate to the weather.
yeah, but don't
Your
forget.
vehicle has to be appropriate to your environment.
But don't forget that sometimes small light cars actually are a little bit more capable in rougher conditions than bigger cars with only front wheel drive. By the way, I'll just respond to the DS collection who's asking where are you, just to let them know that you are actually in Islamabad, and we have been discussing the tragic incidents that occurred in Murree last week, because you were actually up that hill at that moment and you had a pretty hairy experience yourself. Hello to Salman as well, who's just joined us. So yeah, so go on. What were you saying about how this impacted you personally?
So what I was saying is, you're quite right that small cars sometimes can be a little bit more maneuverable. Hang on, we had 5 foot of snow in one
Yeah,
day, and these cars were snowed under. And listen, you can be in a tank and still be stuck. That's not the issue. But if you're asking me what lesson I learned, well, hang on, have the right gear in the right conditions in the right environment. Fortunately, I was wearing boots. I was wearing Timberland boots. I had a little bit of traction when I was trying to push my brother's car out of the snow. But I normally wear Converse. I always, as most people know, I just
yeah,
constantly wear Converse all the time. I
yeah,
would have had no chance. So at least appropriate
yeah,
PPE, appropriate car for the right,
yeah.
right environment, right weather, right, etc. So that is actually at the forefront of my mind. That actually is something I never think about. But in this particular instance, stuck up the side of a mountain, almost at the very top of a mountain, on a huge gradient, in slippery conditions, with snow. I'd like to have had something more substantial.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Gosh.
that's the least of concern. But anyway, that is one of those lasting thoughts. And we'll see where my brother takes that by his next car choice.
Be interesting to see where he gets. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, good to hear from you. Anyway, good to know that you've made it back. Good to know that you're alive and well. And I can't wait till you get back here. Well, you come back at the end of the month, right?
I'll be back there at the end of the month, and we will get on with our antics.
Yeah. Forward to it, mate. All right, man.
All right.
Take all the best to the family and all.
Loving the Ford Mac review. Is it Mac 1 review? I have my own thoughts about it. I'll give them to you in person.
I
All
wait
right.
with not so bated breath. Yeah.
The slowest, fastest car in the world.
But the thing is the thing is you're feeling as cool at 10 miles per hour as you would be at 160 miles per hour in that
Well,
car.
I know what that's about. I know what that's about. So well done.
All
I'll
right,
see
man.
you soon.
All right, take care, buddy. All right.
Take care. Bye bye.
A big shout out and thanks to Jay Williams over at Airtechnik, who are my top tier sponsors. Check them out for exhaust, brakes, suspension, and even body kits. Also, much appreciation to my tier 4 sponsors, Mohamed Ali Humaid and Tom Conway-Gordon. And of course, all of these other guys who have joined me on Patreon. Without their support, I can't be creating the content that I am doing. Perhaps you can join them. Head over to patreon.com/browncarguy. Even if you can't do that, make sure you're subscribing and sharing this channel, which of course is youtube.com/browncarguy. Also subscribe to browncarguy.com and follow me on all the socials. Just search for my hashtag, which of course is #browncarguy.